Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. You may have seen Conor Benn and Manny Pacquiao shaking hands in Riyadh last weekend for the Ngannou-Joshua fight. Clearly, it's been floated that they're going to fight Pacquiao versus Conor Benn. This is the latest, in my opinion, bizarre development in Conor Benn's career. I think it's a joke fight. I think it's a gimmick fight. If you put a gun to my head and say, what do you prefer, Conor Benn versus Pacquiao or Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr., I'll probably say pull the trigger because they both seem like junk fights to me. But Eddie Hearn has made comments about the fact that this fight would sell out a stadium in Britain. And is he right? Pacquiao against Conor Benn? Yeah, probably the Benn name, and Pacquiao is a living legend. Pacquiao, by the way, is 45 years old now. Has not fought since he, what is it, like 3.5 years, something like that? Since he got outpointed by Ugas. I don't really know what to say about this. I mean, he's 62 wins, 8 defeats, and 2 draws. I mean, he needs to prove absolutely nothing, Pacquiao. But he's been floated as an opponent for a guy who clearly is young enough to be his son. Now, the reason that I mention all this is because Hearn said something I thought that was very interesting when he was asked about this fight. He said, it's a fight I like. He said, I've seen people say, oh, he's not the Manny Pacquiao of old. Thank God for that. I think it's a 50-50 fight at this stage. So let me get this straight. Eddie Hearn, who has plugged an awful lot of money into Conor Benn, brought him on throughout his career, since his debut, since he was a teenager. He's saying that it will be a 50-50 fight for a guy who's presumably approaching his prime years to fight a 45-year-old welterweight who hasn't fought for 3 or 4 years. Okay, now there's 2 reasons why he's saying that. There can only really be 2 reasons. Number 1 is that he's trying to soup up the fight and make it sound competitive. He believes in Conor Benn. He thinks, okay, I'm dragging a 45-year-old out of retirement, dangling him the carrot, the proverbial, it's probably Saudi money, I would guess, I don't know. It's really just a name I want on my guy's record. And, you know, I fully expect my guy to smash through an old man. Who is in fistic terms an old man with God knows how many, 300,000, 400,000 miles on the clock? Or he thinks so lowly of Conor Benn that he genuinely believes a 45-year-old Manny Pacquiao, who hasn't fought for 3 or 4 years, who began his career at light flyweight, is genuinely a 50-50 fight. You know, a guy who he promotes, who is coming into his prime years, is I genuinely think it's a 50-50 fight with a guy who's, again, a fistic old man. I mean, this is, whichever one you look at, and I would hope it would be the former. I would hope his opinion on Ben wouldn't be so low as to think that he couldn't beat a 45-year-old Pacquiao, either on points or by knockout or by stoppage or whatever. But you do have to wonder about that because I've for the last 3 years, I've got the impression that Hearn doesn't actually have that much faith in Ben. That despite all his hyperbole and the fact that he talks about selling out arenas and stadiums, he's always looking for, lowest risk, highest reward. Or another way to phrase it would be to cash him out, even though Ben is not really even in his prime years yet. He's coming up to it. Chris Eubank Jr. Okay, you drag him down to 157, which was the initial stipulated weight for the aborted first fight, the aborted fight that they were going to have. Okay, so I'm gambling, but I think Eubank will be so weak at 157, it will make up for the fact Ben's jumping up 2 weight divisions. But again, a silly gimmick fight. That falls through. What about Crawford? Crawford's the undisputed champ. Should we go for him? What about Boots Ennis? Everyone's talking about Boots Ennis being the heir apparent. What about, let's go for him. You know. What about, all right, 154? What about putting Ben in with going after a Tim Tszyu or Charlo? If, you know, Charlo is going to come down to 154 after fighting Canelo. What about fighting him? None of these names get mentioned. None of them. It's always a gimmick. It's always some sort of sales angle. It's always sort of Barnum and Bailey, rather than seeking out the best and in order to prove that you are the best. I don't see Ben himself. He can say, well, I'll have Devin Haney. Okay, Devin Haney's currently a 140 pounder coming up from lightweight. I'll have a go at Gervonta Davis. I'll take the piss out of him. Gervonta Davis is really a lightweight. But when it comes to welterweights, leading welterweights, and by the way, if you want to talk about 140 pounders, I haven't heard a peep out of Ben about Subriel Mateus. I wonder why. But when it comes to welterweights, silence, radio silence from Ben. When it comes to 154 pounders, because he does seem to be filling out into that 154 pound category gradually. He's a bit small at the moment, but look at the weights for his last couple of fights. 154. Do you hear him calling anyone out? No, it's got to be a cash me in fight, Eubank Jr., because the two big legendary British names, maybe fills out it was the O2 Arena, wasn't it, originally, but maybe it'll fill out one of the smaller stadiums, make a lot of money. Hearn constantly talking about how much money this generates. Failing that, 45-year-old Pacquiao. I'm not impressed, and it does smack to me that Hearn just doesn't have that much faith in Conor Benn. And Ben himself, I mean, he's saying he'll fight anyone. Okay, well, call out Mateus, call out Tim Tszyu, go up to 154, fight a couple of top teners, or at the very least, fight a couple of top teners at 147 if you still think you're a welterweight. But all this gimmick stuff, no, I'm not into it at all. So anyway, what do you think? What do you think about Pacquiao versus Benn? Give me your honest opinion. Maybe you like it. If you like it, that's fine. I don't mind. You can disagree with me. But if you do like it, tell me why. If you don't like it, tell me why. If you don't like Pacquiao-Benn, who do you think Ben should fight? Just let me know. Mention some names to me that you think would be realistic proposition. Because I don't see too many leading welterweights or 154 pounders that Ben could beat, in all honesty, or that I would make him favourite to beat, put it that way. Let me know. Comments below as always, and of course subscribe to the channel if you're new. A big thank you to G-Man and also Lee from Inside the Distance. We had a great little session yesterday. Go and have a look on the community page. I'll put a link on there. We had a little chit chat, all three of us, over at G-Man's channel. So thanks to both of them. And yeah, subscribe if you're new. Go over to Lee's Inside the Distance and give him a subscription too. And hit the like button as well. It helps the algorithms, apparently. Catch you later. Bye for now.